The Lakers and Raptors played Saturday evening. And first, I want to talk about the Raptors, man. Look, they sit second in the East. We've heard all year the disrespect. I'm not going to act like they're a team that I've watched a whole lot of this season. Like most people, I've counted them out, right? And it's not that they're not a decent team. You just feel like, all right, well, Pascal Siakam is probably not a tier one star, right? And then you've got an aging Marc Gasol. Is Kyle Lowry going to be healthy? But they are a scary team, man. They are a scary team. And it kind of dawned on me watching that game. Are they not the Patriots of the NBA? Now, I know they've got a long way to go before you say that. They don't have that longevity, right? But just in a general sense of it's the system, right? It's not necessarily the players. Now, they've got a lot of good players. They're deep. But it feels like it's more so the system and the coach that's the star, right? The way they swing the ball, the way they're on a string defensively, the chemistry, the camaraderie. You blend youth with experience, and they are more than the sum of their parts. And I think the scariest thing about them is the mad scientist Nick Nurse, right? You just get this feeling like they are taking advantage of more things than any other team or organization in the league. And it feels like Nick Nurse could win them any series, right? It wouldn't shock you. It would be an upset, but like they could beat any team in this tournament. And Nick Nurse, like, what does he have up his sleeve? And it kind of reminds me of Belichick. Like, it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to bet against this dude, right? And I know that he and the organization has a long way to go to compare themselves to the longevity and greatness of the Patriots organization. But I think it's a similar blueprint. I also didn't see OG Anunoby panning out like he is. He missed last year's finals with, I think, pancreatitis. I can't pronounce that. You know, he had to get his appendix taken out, right? He was recovering from that surgery. And that series may have been more lopsided. Let's keep it real, Warrior fans. Like, if they would have had him healthy in the finals, it may have been even more of a problem. You know what I mean? But I mean, we can point and say, all right, well, KD was in there, just like he told Serge, like, y'all was terrified when Slim showed up there in the North, right? For them 15 minutes. Whew. It's been a year and I still get worked up thinking about that, man. Let me ask y'all this, though. Saying all that about the Raptors, let's say they run through the East. I won't say run because I don't think anybody's going to run through the East, but let's say they get through the East, injuries, coaching, chemistry, right? You know, they get through and they beat either the Lakers or the Clippers. Let's just say for fun, for shits and giggles, they beat the Clippers in the finals. What exactly does that do to Kawhi's legacy? What does that do to Kawhi's legacy, right? You've got Colin Cowherd and a lot of these national media guys getting ready to declare Kawhi Leonard like a top 5 NBA player, you know? And some of it is right, it's hyperbolic, right? It's being a prisoner of the moment, but it's like 3 championships, 3 MVPs on 3 different teams. Nothing gets more impressive than that in a small period of time, right? But if it doesn't even have to be against the Clippers, but if the Raptors shock the world and go back to back, this time without Kawhi Leonard, you've got to back off this praise of Kawhi. Like, look, there's no doubt right now he's a top 5 NBA player and he's a tier 1 elite player. But all of a sudden you look at his championships and you go, well, all right, he was in San Antonio with the old Patriot regime of the NBA. And then he goes to Toronto where clearly he was huge, but it's like if they did it again without him, right? All of a sudden it's like, well, maybe Kawhi is a really good player who's been in ideal situations throughout his career. So it's an interesting thought. Got a long way to go before that happens. I just think, like, if there's one family rooting against the Raptors, it's the Leonards, right? Because that would significantly drop him in the NBA hierarchy all time, not right now where he stands. All right, let's talk about the Lakers side of things. I retweeted Anthony Slater's thorough article on The Athletic about the Lakers' loss, and Anthony Davis only shot the ball 7 times. And I know Laker fans, I already know what you're going to say. Y'all were 10 for 40 from downtown. You missed a bunch of open looks. Okay, you did. But I feel like a lot of teams find themselves saying that against the Raptors, right? It's like, well, we had some good looks, right? That's by design. It's by design. They close out and rotate better than any team in the league. So yeah, you shot the threes, but it's Nick Nurse's philosophy. I believe it's Nick Nurse's, where it's how good is the contest is going to determine the defense. It's not when you're looking at these shot metrics and attempts and all these things, how good was the contest? And if you watch the game, Toronto's contests, they're right up there, right? But anyway, the focus of the article was Anthony Davis and how he became passive. And it showed a couple instances where he kind of just ducked off to the corner and really just didn't want to engage, right? And look, a lot of the time, the separator between really good and great athletes is their will. Do they have an indomitable will? The great ones, they're not willing to take no for an answer, right? Let me slide over into fighting. Jon Jones, right? Sometimes an athlete, a fighter, a basketball player, they're so good, they're so talented, they make it look so easy. It takes you a while to find out about what's inside their guts, their will, right? Because they don't face much resistance. That's how talented they are, and it takes a while. With Jon Jones, remember for a while, he was just running through people, cutting through people like butter. And it was like, well, this kid's amazingly talented, but what happens when things get tough? I believe it was the Vitor Belfort fight. He sunk that armbar deep in the first round. It was locked in. And Jon Jones didn't tap, right? He fought off the armbar. His arm was extended. He got out and he won the fight. Or maybe you could point to the first Gustafsson fight. He was in trouble. He was getting outstruck. And what did he show? He showed an indomitable will, right? And that's when it was like, all right, he's got the, quote, heart of a champion. He's great. It appears that Anthony Davis is missing that trait. If he's caught in an armbar, he'll tap. In other words, Anthony Davis is too quick to take no for an answer. He's too agreeable. And that's the missing trait. And it's also probably why he and LeBron have such a great relationship. AD's an agreeable fellow. As talented as they come, but he's agreeable. I want you to take a look at this play right here from Giannis. I also, in the same tweet, I pointed out it was Rich Paul about a year ago who, was on his soapbox and was saying, well, if the Bucks had Anthony Davis instead of Giannis, they would have made it out of the East. There's no doubt Anthony Davis is just a better player. He's a better playmaker, this and that. All right, clutch, fine, right? This is the difference. Anthony Davis, he might have more skills. He might be more talented than Giannis. We can make that argument, but the difference is Giannis has an indomitable will, and it's very easy to see. 5 years ago, this would have probably been the perfect teammate for LeBron. But now at 35, he needs AD to not take no for an answer most nights. And it appears like that's just not in his DNA. And Laker fans, I know you may get sensitive. You say it's one game and Frank Vogel was this and that. I'm not talking about the outcome. It's a microcosm of what's to come. A lot of teams watched how he handled those double teams and how passive he was. And it's like if you make things hard for Anthony Davis, he doesn't really want to fight through. Here, you have the ball. I'm cool. And he gets past it. He doesn't have an indomitable will. And I want to be clear. That's not a shot on him. Not all these guys do, right? How many players are great, right? That's rare air. So I'm not really trying to shit on him. I'm just simply pointing out he seems to be one of these guys that has all the physical tools, all the talent, but he's missing that trait. And so balancing that between a 35-year-old LeBron and AD, maybe they'll have enough, right? But there's got to be times where he's got to push through and say, nah, fuck that. We're going to play how I want to play. I don't care your scheme. Make the defense bend to what he wants to do. Don't yield to the other team. He's too quick to yield. Big picture Lakers, I get it. Y'all are locked in the number one seed. I'm not saying it was a bad loss per se. I'm just saying what we've learned, the glimpses of what we saw with Anthony Davis were troubling.